You are now listening to the podcast for geeks and the stuff they love, where each week we'll talk about everything from anime to movies, games, and prop collecting with the people who create and love it. I'm Jeromy.
I'm Vinz.
I'm James.
And this is your Geek Fix.
So I grabbed him and I was like, oh. No, wait, we're recording.
I'm not going to give you a heads up on this one. No heads up. Plus, I got to look it up, actually, because let's see here. Let me see here. It shows you purchases and memberships. Here we go. What did I watch? I think it's Renfield. Does that sound right? You guys familiar with Renfield?
Nope.
Let me double check it. Make sure.
Nope.
Renfield.
I was wondering, you subscribe to the Trailer Park Boys.
Oh yeah, it's Renfield.
Oh.
No, so this is a new. I have seen. And I think I talked about it a little while ago, but I have seen this year, for some crazy reason, 5 Nicolas Cage movies. And the newest Nicolas Cage movie that has come out, he is actually amazing in.
For a change.
Well, and honestly, actually, it wasn't bad. In all these, he's just such a weird, I don't know, person, or he's always in some of the most interesting shows, you know. I mean, I remember when Raising Arizona came out, I was like, that's a weird show. It's so weird for Nicolas Cage to be in that show. And since then, it's like, oh, well, that was nothing.
Would you compare him to Boogerman, Jeromy?
Yeah, I'd compare him to. No, Boogerman would be like, I don't know, I can't handle some of that shit. Now, some of the ones I've seen. Now, Renfield was awesome. So Renfield is currently in the theaters, but you can watch it. You can rent it and buy it already on YouTube.
Renfield.
It's actually based on a comic book. But Nicolas Cage is Dracula, and he has a familiar who is, after hundreds of years, is coming to discover that he's in a codependent relationship and in an abusive relationship. And he starts going to groups, even like support groups for these on how to get out of this relationship, which backfires really bad. But this is it is so well done. It has multiple big stars in it, but and it is almost like a superhero movie. If you're familiar, you can have some of Dracula's power, which you can only activate, unlike him, where he would take the blood of humans and things. You have to eat bugs. So you eat a bunch of bugs, and suddenly you have a burst of this energy and things that lets you do stuff. And initially, his whole thing is that he is focused on trying to only get bad guys to bring back to Dracula. And so part of the reason why he starts going to these groups actually is so he can discover the abusers of these relationships, and then he can get the abuser and give them to Dracula. That's his plan.
Okay.
But what Dracula wants, and he clearly states this, is he wants nuns, a bus full of cheerleaders. Like he wants good
pure
life,
blood,
pure life and stuff like that. And because Dracula is recovering, because something happens where Dracula doesn't have enough power to be able to do much of anything.
Castlevania happened.
You're going through like this. But because he doesn't have much power, then basically the familiar's able to go out and do things pretty freely. But Dracula's kind of catching on to the fact that he's not putting in all his efforts. He's not really fulfilling what he's supposed to be doing. And there's a mafia family that Dracula gets tied into. It's funny. It's one of those shows it's funny. It's totally unbelievable, and yet they wrote it well enough that that you buy into it all and you roll with it. Including the thing that happens at the very, very end. Even you're like, oh, okay, sure, why not? It's a very entertaining movie. Nicolas Cage it's one of the best acting jobs I've seen him do. Was actually, if you didn't know it was Nicolas Cage, there's points in time where you might even be surprised that it's him. And he makes a good Dracula. I will say too.
I'll have to watch it then.
A needy Dracula. Yeah. So that's a good example of a show. I will only without naming the names, partially because I can't remember them all. I'll tell you some of the other ones. Nicolas Cage did a movie that's basically Five Nights at Freddy's.
Okay.
Are you guys familiar with the show? This came out last year.
I seem to have heard of it.
It was fairly new. The thing that's interesting about this show, so he's the employee that's been hired to come in and clean up the place overnight. And at the same time, it's no effort for him to beat the things as they come alive. Like, it's not a problem. He's ruthless and stuff. The thing that's interesting about this show is he never speaks. He doesn't have any actual lines. He makes noises, but he never says a word throughout the entire show. And there's kids that are involved too, and they come in and things like that. They have a lot of lines. The other people, the bad guys, all have lines. Even the animatronics have lines. Nicolas Cage doesn't, which I wondered at times, because this is kind of a low budget movie. I thought at times
those Bruce Willis movies that came out. Or...
Yeah. I was just about to say it must be pay related.
Yeah. I was wondering. I mean, you do wonder. At the same time, it fits into the whole storyline too. I mean, it's part of what makes it interesting is the fact that he doesn't say anything, and he seems put off by everything. He just drinks energy drinks and kills animatronics. That's the whole show. Is just that the whole way through.
A bit of a gamer, Shaun of the Dead kind of thing.
Not that good.
Okay.
But these kind of shows, I mean, both these shows, actually, the first one I mentioned is worth seeing, I think, in general. I think people would like it. This one would be one of those where it's like, yeah, I got nothing else to do.
I have given up on life.
Yeah. And if you can get it for free, maybe. I believe it or not, I paid for this experience. Yeah. So, yeah, you got that one. Then there was one that was basically like a Mad Max show that he was in.
Well, he's diverse then. Wow.
That's and this was also only within the last 2 years. And in this one, he is basically, he's a criminal, got involved in a robbery in Japan, or at least it looks like Japan. This weird, futuristic / whatever. And supposedly he was involved in this kid getting shot, but it wasn't him. It was his partner. And so there's a guy whose girlfriend has been kidnapped, and he wants him to go and get her back. And so they put a suit on him that will have portions that will explode if he does certain things. So if he gets excited, even, like sexually excited, portions of it will blow up. If he, because you want to make sure that if he sees the girl, he wouldn't get involved with the girl. So in which case, definitely part of the suit would explode. Okay. If he gets angry, so like if he starts yelling at the girl and stuff, or just in general, if he starts yelling, then alarm will go off to tell him he needs to stop, or else again something will explode. And then there's all these dystopic, weird. The thing made no sense. Like, you don't know what's going on the whole time. It's so
Fair
beyond enough. Dark. But then in the end, the way it ends, even you're like, I don't know what I just watched exactly. It felt like if you took Kill Bill and Mad Max and
threw the concepts completely out the window.
Yeah, and Pee-wee's Playhouse, and you throw them together, you'd have this movie. And then of course there's
You're
the
really
one
selling it, Jeromy.
Yeah, I know. and then another one it was pretty. Again, this is within a 2-year period that he's turned out all these movies, right?
Oh,
is of course the one that has made been the most popular, I think. Because people were just interested to see Nicolas Cage play Nicolas Cage.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see that one?
No, I saw a lot of trailers and I saw a lot of, coverage about it.
You know who else is in it, right? Mandalorian.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Who can't miss, like, generally speaking. I mean, if he's in something, it's usually it works out and stuff. This movie, basically again, a mobster related thing. He's wanting his favorite actor and writer, Nicolas Cage, to come out and just kind of hang out with him. And it's all about Nicolas Cage trying to gain some meaning in his life and also get closer to his family, but also having real life things happen that would typically happen in one of his movies. And it's kind of an out left field kind of movie, but it's funny enough. One of the things that's funny in it, though, that I had to check out was that they make this statement that Pascal says that the best movie that has ever been released, one of the best movies, is, can you guess what would it be? Best movie ever made?
Guess Citizen Kane or something.
Guaranteed to make you cry. Paddington 2.
That's Star Wars Episode 1.
No, Paddington 2. No. And then they end up watching it together, and they're both crying and things. So I was like, and honestly, I hadn't seen Paddington 2, so I checked out Paddington 2 as a spin-off from that, and surprisingly, it was pretty good.
It's like they did the same thing with Winnie the Pooh, where like the kid comes back with PTSD after the war and stuff.
The live version. The thing about Paddington 2 is it's just really well put together and written, and it actually does. It's very emotional, and it is surprisingly, it won a lot of awards. It had the actual queen in it, like the real queen was in the movie, because she was a fan. Before, naturally, long before she died.
Forever, eternally.
She wanted to be in it, and she got to be in it. Yeah. And so
did you guys see that? She has a piece in the last Peppa Pig game.
Oh, she does.
Really?
Yeah, there's apparently a level where Peppa Pig and family are playing in England/London, and they have the Queen as a character, and at the very end of the scene they have like in memorial and like the Queen.
Oh wow!
Oh really?
Yeah.
Did she voice it too or anything?
No. I wouldn't imagine so.
She's just referenced in it.
That'll be great.
Peppa Pig's a pretty English, yeah. But I mean, if you, it's strange that I go off on a Nicolas Cage tangent, but I mean,
Cage Rage.
I watched a whole bunch of Nicolas Cage movies. That and then also, Trash Taste actually made me finally watch. There's a series of anime that are on Netflix right now, which is called Junji Ito Maniac Japanese Tales of the whatever. Any rate, it is
horror series.
Which if you've ever read the manga, I actually got to see one of these and got to read it, and I thought it was just bizarre, and it's one of those things that kind of drew you in the manga because it's so well written and drawn.
Junji Ito is a madman. He has like really
he does weird things stuff. And doesn't care kind of thing.
No,
but when you put it in, when you animate it, and maybe because of the dubbing too, I don't know, but I don't know. So it's safe enough. I felt like I could watch it with my daughters. So I sat down with them after I watched each one. I made sure that they were pretty good. There's only one that was kind of intense, which is there's one that basically balloons. The premise is that everybody has a giant balloon of themselves, their heads that show up out of nowhere, and they have these ropes that hang down, and then they hang you. Their whole purpose is they're trying to catch you and hang you, and then they like float around with your body hanging from it. And there's one girl that's basically she's avoiding getting hung as she watches all of her other people. That's a little too extreme. But there's some other ones that were pretty good, that were just bizarre. I mean, yeah, they're just so bizarre. A lot of these. The thing I don't like too is how they end. They just end out of nowhere, and you're like, well, that didn't really explain anything.
No, but that's the weirdest. But he got a Magic Cards art, because there was Junji Ito did some correction artwork for the Magic Cards.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And then the guy from Metal Gear Solid as well, the one who does all the...
Are they weird looking?
No, those ones are... Because the Foractions, like, they are a race of, like, machines that try to turn flesh into machines, that kind of stuff. So it's a bit of a gory kind of thing. Yeah.
That's one of his... he's the one that came up with the premise of the one where the fish decide to take over humanity. I know Rick and Morty made fun of this. They like came out with metal legs and they were like mechanized.
Okay, fair enough.
So they could take over the. There's one of the weird ones he did is basically there's a curse on this family. This guy's an archaeologist, and they find where they buried a child, and then they laid dirt upon it each year. And so there's layers of dirt that show how many years it's been. And then because they took they took it, his family's cursed. So his daughters both are made up of nothing but skin, multiple layers of skin, basically. And so instead of their bones and stuff, which they find out when they get in a car accident, and one of them, her part of her face gets peeled back a little bit, they go to the doctors and they show them the MRI, and they're like, well, it's just like multiple layers. Like you can count the layers to see how old she is. And so the mom, who wants her to be 2 years old, like when she loved her and stuff the most, she decides that she's going to pill her back to her 2-year-old self. Sick. And then when she does, like there's like it doesn't work out the way that she thought it would. And then it's just such weird. It's like nothing but a bunch of weird stories and shows, but I don't know. Give me a couple of what are the things that you guys have seen the most recently that you feel like are the best?
I haven't seen it, but I was talking to my girlfriend about it. So there's a film I can find the name later on, which basically has 3 different like sub parts of it, and one of them is a woman and a man are together, and she ends up getting pregnant, and the man for whatever reason has to leave, and he says, "Don't give birth to the child until I'm back." And so to do this, he gives her a big jar of pills, and if she takes the pills, it will stop the child from leaving the body, but the child will continue to grow. And so the guy leaves and doesn't come back for 11 years. So the child keeps growing inside of the mother for 11 years, man. Or 11 or more, or something like that. So
is this a live action movie, or is this like a
no, completely live action? Yeah.
Okay.
And it comes to the point where the mother can't walk anymore. She can just drag herself across the floor because of obviously the child inside of her. She has full conversations. She has full conversations with the child. The child trying to convince the mother to let her leave. And I don't know if I should spoil it or not, because as I say, it's like a small fragment of the whole different anthology of films. But basically something happens which forces
it's not Children of Men.
No, it's like the ABC.
Is it on Hulu?
I don't know. It's ABC something. I can search for the name afterwards.
Yeah, I want to know what this is now. I gotta.
This is messed up.
Another one was something about a girl going to a pool and she gets bullied, and a friend sees her get bullied, but doesn't do anything about it. And then circumstances happen, and the girl who was watching her friend getting bullied gets taken away in a van, not abuse style van. and the friend who was getting bullied sees this and decides not to say anything because her friend wouldn't help her out before. So, like, just weird and wacky stuff.
Okay.
Is your girlfriend there?
No, she's having a nap.
Oh my gosh, I gotta know what this
It's
show
Dr.
is.
What?
Text it to me.
Yeah,
You know what's a weird show? Speaking of Paul, let me look up what it's called though. Are you guys from Paul? So we talked about Paul. Let's see here.
Like 3 months ago.
Yeah. At this point in time,
3 weeks ago.
Let's see here. It's called. He was in a movie where he plays the doctor. And the whole idea is
We're talking about Paul Sung-Yoon Lee, by the way, for the people who
yeah. He's playing a doctor. This is a Canadian movie. And it was done in the style of a documentary. It's a fake documentary with a lot of big actors and stuff in it. And the whole idea is people who love cats and really love them a lot that want to give birth to a cat. And so he's come up with a way to implant a cat into these women so they can have a cat.
Why?
And then it follows
so
the women
logical.
as their whatever stuff. It's a comedy naturally, but at the same time,
Oh yeah, sure.
it's really bizarre. It is a really bizarre show the whole
Junji
way
Ito
through.
presents Cat Ladies.
Yeah, it is kind of that kind of story. It is definitely a weird story. Like I'm trying to remember
I
what
didn't
it's called
expect
now.
this. I still
know
have
that
to have
he's
dinner
in it.
after this.
And I know it's and I know that cat is part of the or kitten, one of the two is part of the title, but
But
yeah,
there's a
so that's also
crossover
one
where
to
there's an
check out.
11-year-old cat stuck in a woman.
yeah.
Man,
I
you
bet
guys
you that
watch
lady
weird
wished she
stuff.
had a Benjamin Button situation going on. That would have been much easier.
Man. Oh no.
We got to know the name of the show, so find out for us.
Oh,
Just
you know,
so messed up.
I talked
will.
about a few too. That I can't remember the names too, but also I just think it's more interesting almost just to hear the description of these shows.
I'm just sick listening to this.
Yeah. Have you guys ever watched? There's a channel on YouTube where I think it's called Pitch Meeting.
Oh yeah, the guy who
you watched that before?
No,
yeah,
they're
with
hilarious.
the big eye
especially-
thumbnails.
Yeah, that's it. So this guy, he plays both parts. He plays the boss of the company that's producing the movie. So like he'll do a pitch meeting for Harry Potter, but then any movie that he pitches, he points out how ridiculous the whole premise sounds, and then the other guys will be like, well, like they point out with Harry Potter, he's like, so basically, if Harry wouldn't have done anything, then everything would have been okay. And he's like, yeah, pretty much, because he came along. This person had to die. He had to give up his life because they had to hide the stone again. And, if Harry wouldn't have gone to the mirror, none of this would have happened then. He's like, yeah, that's how it would have worked. And he's like, oh, well, that sounds like a stupid movie. And then he'll always end it too. Like, he's like, well, what would be the name of that movie? And he's like, well, we're going to call it this. And he says the name that it was originally supposed to be called. And then it shows why they changed the name at the very end and stuff. But yeah, that's always a good
That's a good
show to watch.
Have they done an episode where they talk about the Harry Potter show being on HBO? Because I don't know if I've seen a clip of that on like TikTok or something.
I don't know if they did.
Is it the game show or is it the documentary?
No. It's the same format in which you've got the person pitching it and like the boss.
Do they review the game show or the documentary? Because there are two shows for Harry Potter.
No, I'm talking about the reboot that they're going to be doing on HBO.
Yeah.
Oh, the new one.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think he did do. I think he did do something about. He did one about the play. I know he did that, and that was funny too. But
the one that I was thinking of was like him saying, which isn't actually this way. I was just like making a joke of it, but it was going to be right. So we want to reboot all of the old Harry Potter films, and he's like, okay. And he's saying, obviously, we've got to bring in all of the old characters because that's the face that everyone thinks of these characters. So no new characters. And he's like, okay, so no new characters. And obviously, we have to use all of the same props because we've already paid for those and we've already got those. Okay, so no new characters, no new props. And obviously, we can't put anything new into the film because people already love what they've already got. And it's like, okay, so we've got to make a new show with the same characters, with the same props, and the exact same plot.
Right.
And he's like, "Yep, that's exactly what we want."
Yeah, that's kind of the setup. Yeah. I still
It's
think
just hard
it's
when
weird.
everyone's dead from that show. Or half the characters are dead.
Well, the old ones are, yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, I don't know. There's good stuff that's out there. If you have some weird things
stuff,
you've seen, I need to check the comments more too, because I went. I mean, I'm pretty good about responding to all comments, but if you write us about something that's interesting, we'd love to do. I wouldn't mind doing again a show like when we did the anime series that we did. Those were always fun to be able to review the just the craziness of things and actually be able to see it. So if you have something that you're just like, oh, you guys have to see this or you got to talk about this, let us know.
If you've enjoyed this podcast and want more, stay tuned for that. But also check out our channel, join the community on YouTube that goes by the same name, your Geek Fix. Be sure to check out Vinz on Twitter at massivedmg_ and on his YouTube channel, massivedmg. Check out James at Mr. Malto4 on Instagram and the Replica Prop Forum. We also want to hear from you, so be sure to send your questions, stories, and other projects to yourgeekfix@gmail.com. In the meantime, this has been your Geek Fix.